Okay. You can
Okay.
start.
Okay. Yeah. Hi everyone. Very good morning and welcome to MuleSoft Mysore Meetup group. So, before we start, I'd like to thank everyone for taking out their time and joining today's session. We really appreciate it. So, today, we have our speaker Abhishek Jindal, who is going to demonstrate us how we can configure Azure DevOps pipeline for our CI/CD deployment process for the Mule APIs. So, for your information, the session will be recorded and you can find the content through our YouTube page or through Mysore Meetup group meetup page. So before we start, I'd like to introduce you all to the organizer of Mysore Meetup group. So we have our speaker Shubham Chaurasia here, who is currently working as a senior integration developer with Selenium. And then we have Giridhar Meka, who is currently working as a senior technical architect with Hashdin, and he's currently not present today due to some work. And then here I am, Priya Shah. I'm currently working with LTI Mindtree as a senior software specialist, and I'm having experience of almost 5 years into the integration area. Coming to the presenter, we have Abhishek Jindal. He is currently working in Hashin by Deloitte as a software engineer, and he is having experience of 4 years. He is MuleSoft and Azure DevOps. He's MuleSoft and Azure certified. So thank you, Abhishek, for taking this up. Now I would like to hand over the presentation to him to start from the agenda of today's session. Yeah, Abhishek.
Thank you, Priya.
Yeah, take this up.
Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Visible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. So today we will be discussing about pipeline or Azure DevOps platform. So today's agenda would be brief introduction about CI/CD. Then we would be introducing the Azure DevOps platform. Then using the Maven plugin, where can we deploy our APIs. Then we will be learning little bit about the pipeline structure. What are the key components of the Azure pipelines? Then the various stages of pipeline and what we need for MuleSoft deployment, what stages we need for MuleSoft deployment. Then we will see a little demo of setting up the pipeline. Then we have the QA, networking timer, and so let me go to the CI/CD introduction. So CI/CD is divided into two parts. We call it CI, continuous integration, and CD, continuous deployment. So CI is a process of committing all developers committing their codes to into a shared code repository and setting up the process of automating the build of that code so that we can run automated test cases, do code coverage, and analyze the code using external tools like SonarQube and etc. So benefits of CI is that in early stages of development, we can identify the compile, build errors, and we can also run test cases against this to make sure that our code is up to the quality. And next is continuous delivery. It's the approach of automatically deploying the build artifact to the environments, uh, different environments that could be development, UAT, test, and production. So if we combine both of these, then we can reduce the manual intervention here. And with the automated process, our software delivery could be more often and faster than the classic delivery model. Yeah. So as we discussed, the initial step in the pipeline is the commit. So a developer will work on his and her code and then push it to the repo. Then from repo, we have the build pipeline setup. So build pipeline is going to take that code and start running some steps. And so main product of the build pipeline is usually a build artifact. So in case of our Mule APIs, it's mostly a jar file that will be product of this step. Then on this build artifact, we can run some test cases. So we use a minutes Maven plugin for this. So using that Maven plugin, we are running test cases and we can have the coverage summary in any format that we want. And then deploy stage will take that artifact and try to deploy it to the desired environment. Any questions today?
Not in the chat. Feel free to enable your mic and you can directly ask with the speaker, with Abhishek. Okay. You can continue for now.
So next is Azure DevOps. So Azure DevOps is a Microsoft platform where they have provided few services to us. So they have provided 5 services mostly. Azure Boards. So Azure Boards is helps us in maintaining the backlog, managing our sprints, deliverables, etc. Azure Repos. This is a Git-based version control system. So where we have the repository commits, pull request, etc. Then we have the Azure pipelines where we usually implement the continuous CI/CD pipelines. So here we can implement pipelines using either YAML or classic interface. Then we have the Azure test plans where we can create the test plans for our softwares, and also we can link those test plans to our pipeline, and results test results from our pipeline can be stored here for later analysis. And we have Azure artifacts. So in Azure artifacts, we can create feeds. So the artifacts from pipelines like jar and our code that can be stored here in Azure artifacts. So this is how a pipeline flow will look like for our MuleSoft application. So here we have the endpoint studio where we will develop a API. Then once we have developed the API, we will commit to the Azure repo, and from Azure repo we will have our pipeline setup. So as soon as we commit it, pipeline will be triggered, and pipeline is going to run and build. So if we have any test cases planned, if we have any test cases, then those test cases will run, and the result will be stored in the test plans. Then if we want, we can also store the artifact into the Azure artifacts. And then once that is done, then that application will be deployed to the endpoint runtime. So as given in the MuleSoft docs, we can deploy MuleSoft applications to 5 different targets using our Maven plugin. So CloudHub 2.0 and CloudHub, these are MuleSoft provided cloud-based iPaaS services where both application is deployed and managed using the MuleSoft. Next, we have hybrid, where we are deploying the application to our own premises server, but using runtime manager to manage them. Example of this could be our Flex Gateway. Then we have Anypoint Platform Private Cloud Edition, where we are using Anypoint's standalone server and installing that on our own premise server and managing and deploying by our own. Then we have Anypoint Runtime Fabric. So Runtime Fabric is a service that's provided by MuleSoft that can be used to deploy and manage applications on external services like EKS, AKS, and GKS. So when we set up the pipeline on ADO, there are few terminologies that we need to know so that we can create a pipeline here. So first is part of the pipeline in start, we have the trigger. So trigger is something that tells pipeline when to run. So it could be either a commit or once a PR is completed, or if we want to validate a PR against a build, then we can add those as a trigger in our pipeline. And once those conditions are fulfilled, then pipeline will start to run or deploy. Stage, this is a boundary in pipeline. So pipeline is usually made of one or more stages, and these stages are usually like build and deploy to the different environments. Then we have jobs. So this is a series of steps that are part of a stage. So deployment job, this is a different kind of jobs that is usually used for deployment stage. So benefit of this is that we can link a deployment stage to an environment on ADO, and from this deployment job we can see all the deployment history. We can perform before deploying. We can perform some approvals and checks, and uh, also we can also use our own agents to deploy the pipeline instead of using the dedicated ADO agent. Steps. Steps is smallest block of pipeline. It is usually either scripts or tasks. Script, we know that this is something that runs code in pipeline. We can use CMD, PowerShell, or Bash to run the code. Task, it is a kind of a script, but Microsoft has created a lot of tasks so that we can predefine scripts so that we can use those in our pipeline. So like Maven deploy, Maven build, those are available as task in ADO. Artifacts, collection of files or packages published by run. Library is another component on the ADO. So it is where we store our secure files or variable groups. So secure files could be our settings.xml, and variables groups are a uh, key value store, where we store our secrets and values that can be passed to the pipeline when as part of the run. Variables, again, it stores the value and secrets that can be passed to the pipeline. Any questions still here? No. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we can
So
move ahead.
till now, we have seen how pipeline is made up, and now we will see how we can create a pipeline specific for our Mule APIs. So in first stage would be build, where whatever code we have pushed, we will run our Maven clean install command to build that and create a jar artifact here. So as in the demo pipeline that we have, following are the tasks. So we have the cache Logan Maven repo. So whatever dependencies and repositories we have in our pom.xml, we will cache those. So in next runs, those can be used. This process could be faster. Prepare settings.xml. So with every run, we are preparing the settings.xml. So to in the settings.xml, we will use add the servers to add our anypoint platform password and username. Then we have the build API. So this will run the Maven clean install. Then we have the publish code coverage. So as part of the build, when we run the munit, we will have the summary.html, or it could be in another format also. So we are going to take that file and store in our pipeline artifacts, so that if anyone wants to see the coverage, we can see that. Copy build files. So we are uh, copying those build files to a different artifacts, or sorry, different directory. Then we are publishing those build artifacts to our uh, pipeline artifacts so that those artifacts could be used in our deploy stage. Uh, Next, we have the deploy stage. So once the artifact has been published by the last task, so deploy stage will take that task and run the maven deploy command to deploy it to the MuleSoft environment. So as part of deploy, we have three tasks: download the build artifacts. So from iPlan artifacts, we will need to download that for our local purpose and prepare the settings.xml. Then the run the maven deploy command to deploy it to the cloud hub. So before setting up the pipeline on ADO, we need an Anyfund platform account where we need to deploy the application, Azure DevOps account to set up the pipeline, and Anyfund Studio to develop the API, then any version control tool that will be used to commit the code to the repos. So these are the only four prerequisites for this. And we have so set up the pipeline. So before setting up the pipeline, we need the business group ID and environment client ID and secret. So as we know, the Mule Maven plugin. So in that plugin, we need to pass the group ID and environment client ID and secret so that it can be linked to a MuleSoft environment. Next, we have the variable group on ADO. So these business group ID and client ID and secret, these would be stored in a variable group as a secret so that we can create a single variable group for single environment, and every pipeline that is running to deploy to the dev environment. Let's say for dev environment, we created one variable group. Then every pipeline that's trying to deploy to the dev environment can use that variable group to download the IDs and secret. So this is how see variable groups look like on an ADO. I have created this endpoint platform sandbox. So this variable group is to deploy into the sandbox. So here we have the platform client ID and secret, business group ID, and one platform password. So next is Mule Maven plugin configuration. So using this plugin, MuleSoft provided this plugin that can be used for deployment. So based on the deployment target, we can use the plugin and add it to our pom.xml. So here, as part of this demo, we will be deploying our API to Cloud Hub. So here we have added this Cloud Hub deployment plug configuration here. So all these parameters are fixed, and they had what you see in this curly bracket. These are the values that will be passed through Maven command. We will see that in the demo. And here we have the properties that we are passing to our runtime application on runtime. Any questions still here? Okay. So this fourth step we will see in the demo. Okay. If does anyone have any questions in the presentation? If no, we can go to the demo next.
Yeah, Abhishek, we don't have any question in our chat. We are good.
Okay. Yeah. So for the demo, I have this pipeline.demo simple application where we have one simple flow. So we will try to deploy this to our endpoint platform. So here the structure looks like that. We have the pipeline folder. In that we have variables YAML. So this sandbox.yaml, this contains the variables that are specific to the environments. Then we have the variable.yaml that contains the variables that are common to all environments. Excuse me. Sorry, I think I did not share my browser, right?
Yeah, it is not visible. You can reshare.
Yeah. Are you able to see my browser now?
Yeah, it is visible.
Yeah. Let me start again. So here I have the simple application pipeline.demo. So here in this application we have the one single flow. So this is what we will try to deploy to the endpoint platform. So here we have our code src and artifactorization and form.xml, and with that we have this also where we have the all the files related to the pipeline. So under this we have variables. So under sandbox.yaml we have the variables related to the sandbox.yaml sandbox environment, where we have the region, worker type, and any point environment. Then in variables.yaml we have the common variables that are common across all environments. Then we have the pipeline.yaml. This is the main pipeline file. So where we have parameters. So when triggering this pipeline, these are the parameters that we can pass environments. So where we want to deploy the application. So here we have the sandbox and prod. So this pipeline can be used to deploy uh, application to multiple environments. So and what we have here in default, that is what where it will try to deploy. Then we have the trigger. So in trigger we are including the branches here. So if code is pushed to any of these branches, then pipeline will automatically trigger. Then we also have PRs. So if there is any PR created from any branch to any branch, then this pipeline will automatically trigger. Then we have the resources. So for this deployment, we are using this self meaning that pipeline.demo repository. And then with this, we are also using this template repository where we have the pipeline templates here. We will go to that next. Then we have variables. So this we are using template here. So this variable file is being used by using the template. So we are going to variables, variable.yaml. Then we are reading one of the variable group. So as we seen earlier that endpoint platform sandbox, this is a variable group. So this is being read using group tag here. And then we have one variable called branch name. So this branch name will store the source branch name, meaning that from which branch this pipeline will trigger, that value will be stored in this variable. Then we have stages. So first stage is build. Then under build stage we have this build Mule app job. Then here we have one template. So this template is coming from this templates repo. So let me go to that uh, repo. So here we have, I have stored this stages into this single repo, separate repo templates. So any changes to this repo, we have centralized the pipeline here, so that any changes to the pipeline that can be made in one place and every other pipeline can use those changes. So under this we have settings.xml, where we have this one of the server with the endpoint server, where we will be passing the username and password from our pipeline. Then we have the build.yaml and deploy.yaml. These are both the files for stages. And this build.yaml is needing some parameters. Then we have all these steps here: cache maven repo, prepare settings.xml. So here for settings.xml, here we are reading this file and then passing this username and password. So username is hard coded here and password is coming from our variable group. So this is the syntax to read a value from variable group: a dollar and bracket and then key. Then we have the build API task, where we are doing clean install package. And this demo I have not created any minutes, so I'm skipping the minutes here. And this published code coverage, their minutes are not running, so this task will be not producing any assembly.html, so this task will give us warning. Then we are copying this file to this artifact staging directory. Then we are publishing these to artifact directory and creating an artifact called drop. So if we any questions? Okay. Okay, so here yeah, so we are calling this template build.yaml, and this template requires some parameters. So we are passing the application name here. So this the application name is being read from the variables.yaml. So we are writing to read the very parameters from templates. Call dollar double curly bracket then variables dot the key, and this will run the build.yaml file. Then we have the condition here: each env in parameters dot environment. So we saw that parameters environment. So this condition will create this deploy task multiple times based on the environments. If we want to deploy it to the two environments, then this stage will be run two times. Then we have one more condition here, that is just saying that build.region, if this pipeline was triggered manually, then if someone is triggering this pipeline manually, then they will have to pass the environments manually. And if this is a uh, um, this is not a manual trigger, meaning that if it is triggered by commit or PR, then whatever we have in the environments, that will be read. Then we have the deploy stage here. So for deploy, we are using this variable. So here, if you see, we have again created this variables tab here, because we don't want to read this. We don't want to read this sandbox.yaml for whole pipeline.yaml. So if this under the stages, if we have variables, this scope of this template here will be restricted to this stage only. So based on the sandbox that whatever property we have, those properties will be available only to this Mule deploy to the sandbox environment stage. Then we have one more job. This is a deployment job here. Then we have the environment. So this deployment job will be run against this environment. So this would be environment, then application name, and then sandbox. So we have one environment specific to this application in sandbox environment. Then here we have one other template, that is deploy.yaml. You can look at that deploy.yaml. So again, this is coming from template repo only. Here again, we have some parameters called environment, endpoint environment, maven pom file, region, workers, worker type, Mule version, application name, and server. So most of these values are defaulted, because these don't change across multiple pipelines, and it's useless to pass these again and again. So we have defaulted here. So this is part of the deploy stage. First task is download artifact. So this is downloading this drop artifact that we published in the build stage, and it will download it to this artifact directory. Then we have the prepare settings.xml. This is the same task. Then we have the deploy to cloud up. So here we are reading the maven pom file from artifact directory, drop. Then we will be reading the pom.xml. Then here we are doing the maven deploy task, mule deploy, and we are passing all these values as the maven arguments here. If you see server and application name, environment, region, worker type, business group ID, all these. And these are the parameters that we saw in our Mule Maven plugin. So all these are being passed here as Maven arguments. And if you see here that these whatever parameters we have defined here, so those parameters are being read while creating this argument. So this is the syntax. So parameter.server, that is how we did the parameters here. And this anyone flag from client ID and client secret, these are coming from variable groups. So this is how we are reading these. And if you see here some of the values here, parameters here, this might be different for every pipeline. So if that's the case, then we can pass through pipeline sorry, parameters here, and those default values will be overwritten if we pass through here. Any questions today?
Yes, so one question.
So
So,
one
like,
question.
hello, hello, is it audible?
Yeah, Ankit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, my question is like, where is that pipeline steps build.yaml file from that in that second column? Where is that hierarchy inside that steps folder and the build YAML? So, how that is being called?
Yeah, so here we have this pipeline.yaml file. So when we create a pipeline, this would be our main file, first file here. So this is the hierarchy, like this is the main file. Then from this file, pipeline will go through one by one. So it will come to here. So in resources, we have this templates repository. So it will check out this repository and self also. So then it will come to this, then stages. So here if you see, we have this template. So it is present in the pipeline slash steps.build.yaml,
No, no,
and
how
it
that
is
is called
coming.
in line 57. There is a template attribute with pipeline steps build.yaml. So how where is this located? Build.yaml.
This is located here in the templates repo. So if you see, we are checking out this templates repository, right? And then this template repository is giving reference of templates. So if
Okay.
we want to use any file from this template, have to give syntax like this, at the rate template. So pipeline will row what is the reference for this. So when we are giving this line, so it will look for this file under this directory at the templates. So it will go to the templates repo, and we have already checked this out. So under pipeline, under steps, we have the build.yaml. So it will read this file. So at the
Okay, got it.
time
Yeah.
when we create the pipeline, yeah, so this it will read that file and it will write that here. It will take all the lines from there and write that here. It one single pipeline.yaml is created when we create the pipeline. So
Yep. Yep. Clear now. Thanks.
Abhishek Ramesh here. How do we manage POM version incrementing, etc. after each deployment? Do we take care of this in this demo, or but otherwise in general, how do we and where do we do that?
that we have to do in our pom.xml.
You mean to say manually? Um,
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, we need to manage, let's say, when you're trying to push it to the development environment, we'll make it as 101 or 110, following the semantics, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. So now we have created our pipeline.yaml file. So now we will see how to create the pipeline. So for this sandbox branch, I have already created the pipeline. So let me go to different branch here. Yeah. So here are two ways to create a pipeline here. So here either we can go to the setup build. So if we go to the setup build, these two steps will be automatically configured. So these two are select the repo and branch. So those are automatically selected here. And we can choose starter pipeline. So if we choose this option, then we will have to write whole the pipeline dot content of the pipeline.yaml again. And if we already have the YAML file, then we can choose the second option. So this will ask us to locate the YAML file in our repo. And once we select that, so here it is asking for YAML file, but in main we don't have that. So let me just go to the sandbox. So in sandbox, it will automatically see the YAML files. And here we can select the pipeline.yaml and save this. But it is already created, so I'm not going to create again. And the second option here is we can go to the pipelines. Under the pipelines, create new pipeline. So here it will ask us to locate the repo and the and again we are seeing the same option. And so I have already created one pipeline for pipeline.yaml demo. So once we have created and run the pipeline, we will see something like this. So here we can see all our previous runs. So here we can see the batched CI. So this would mean that it was automatically triggered after a commit to the sandbox launch, and manually triggering mean that I am running the pipeline from here. So if you see manually trigger, see this is the parameter that we have configured in our pipeline. So this is asking for a value, but right now I don't have prod.yaml, and from here we can run the pipeline. Once we run the pipeline, we can see all the stages here. We are deploying to the sandbox environment, so we have build stage and one deploy stage for deploying it to the sandbox. And if we are passing multiple environments in the parameters, then we will see multiple deploy stages here. Then we can see sources. So we have the pipeline.demo. We are reading code from sandbox branch. Then we are also using our templates repo, and we saw that the resources that we are reading the main branch from there. So that's where our templates are located. So this will take some time. So let me go to the this one. So here you see that both stages are run successfully, and after this code was deployed. So here we can also see the environment. So if you see, we had the environment against one of the deployment jobs. So we can see that this deployment job deployed to the sandbox environment, this was run against this environment. So if we go to the view environment, yeah, we can see all the deployments here that has happened. So this deployment was successful and this is now running. We can also create some approvals and checks before every stage. So there are a lot of approvals here. Based on our needs, we can create all those. Yeah. So we also have the code coverage here. As part of this demo, we are skipping the minutes, so there is no HTML file. Summary.html was not found, so we are not able to see it here. And here we can also see the artifacts that are being used as part of this pipeline. So if you see that build is publishing one artifact, then deploy is consuming one artifact. Yeah, so we can see our drop artifact here, and all our code is available here. And if we are running the minutes coverage, we will also see our summary.html file here in the under the artifacts. Yeah, we can see here that no coverage results were found to publish. So that publish code coverage ran with the warning here. Yeah. Any questions?
Yes, Abhishek. Do we have any specification? When do we try to choose releases? By doing only the build-in pipelines and then release into the environments versus this approach?
This. So on for creating pipelines here we have two approaches. One is using the YAML file and another one is using the classic interface. So if you are creating pipeline using classic interface, then we create using releases. So if you see here, this is the classic interface. It is a UI based. So here we will be adding the stage. So this is the what we wrote in YAML. This is what we create a stage. We don't have any stages for Maven, so we will choose the empty. Then we will read that artifact once that we published in our build. And under this stage, we will have to again create the task here. Like we have already downloaded the artifact, so here we will have to create that Maven deploy task, and that we will have to pass all the arguments here. So that's the difference. In the demo, we have used the YAML based approach, and if you want to use the classic approach, then we will have to create pipeline. We can create the pipeline also in classic approach, and then create release separately.
Yeah, in the release, we can actually have the approvals, manual approvals controlled, right? Especially for the production environments, only on approval, release manager's approval, it can be deployed. But can we achieve that in pipelines way of working also?
Yeah, we can do that using environments. So if you see, we have this environment for our pipeline demo.
Mhm.
So if you go to approval checks, you can add approval here. Who should approve and when, those kind of things.
Okay, thanks, Abhishek.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I think. But yeah, from my side, I'm done.
Okay. So, anyone else having any questions? Okay.